Thank you. Thank you for that. That was a audio clip from our resident musician, Quicksilver. Um, I know it's been a while, guys. I know you guys missed me with my on-site reporting and my interview with Shreeby fighter Winged MC. Great guy. Great guy. But we started in the new studio. The last time you saw me was in my California studio. I'm not going to reveal the new location. You guys kept showing up. But as you can see, we got some new adjustments going on, some cool stuff going on in the works here. We also have a cool Friday with UFC Fight Night. You love a fight night. They're always great. Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg is the main event. Undercard is Manuel Torres versus Nebraska resident. I'm not going to say why I said Nebraska resident, but Drew Dober, as well as Joe Pfeiffer, with the recorded strongest punch in the UFC. And they'll say, no, it's Pereira. No, it's Pereira. And it's not. And also have the young buck, Raul Rosas Jr. coming back. But other than that, we have a lot of fun stuff going on in combat sports. So it's great to see that. First, it's a little bit late, I know, guys. But I'm a boxing guy myself. I love boxing. So TKO boxing partnership with His Majesty, Turki Al Gaib. He and Dana White announced a TKO partnership for boxing, which is already great. Currently, they already have a UFC Fight Pass boxing thing. I don't know what the sign-in deal is for stuff like that. I know that they do 10 and 10 for first signing for UFC fighters, but we could see a lot different. And I think 10 and 10 starting for a boxing commission is great. Boxers, young pros, have notoriously nothing. They make nothing. A lot of people say they get started in their career making $500 and a free meal from the bar that they're fighting at or whatever. But we'll love to see that. Also, just organization within boxing. Currently, there is none. Boxing organization is notoriously bad, and people duck fights. And one thing that the UFC does with their formula is the best fight the best, just by their very good matchmaking. So I'd love to see that in boxing. I think that combined with the resources that the UFC allows their fighters to have, no matter what people will complain, is great. And it's better than any commission that there is right now because it's what makes the most money. And that doesn't work because then people don't fight. Boxing has fallen off. People say it's fallen off because of boxers taking dives and stuff like that. It's not. It's boxers not making enough money. So it's time to say pipe down, little bro. Join the UFC boxing or whatever the name is going to be. The UFC belt for boxing, I don't think it would work. What is the 3-letter belt going to be? Ariel Helwani did talk about it. It could be UFC, but they already have the heavyweight, middleweight, bantamweight, stuff like that. Personally, I think that the belt should be called SMD. Oh, man. Thanks, Quicksilver, for that. Anyways, that was a little older. That was older news, but, it's still good to see stuff like that. I think we'll see a lot more news coming out, especially it's early in 2025. We're a little less than halfway through, but I think 2025 is going to be a great year for fighting with everything going on. A lot of UFC legends coming back with the GFL, stuff like that. So I think this is probably a good step in direction, especially for boxing. I know a lot of, if not with TKO, a lot of other commissions will probably start following the same pattern where they're going to invest a lot more into their particular devotions rather than just MMA as a whole. I know kickboxing is already super huge with stuff like Pride, Glory, just, major kickboxing organizations, but that's more of a foreign thing, so I think it's going to be a lot better just seeing that with boxing because it's a pretty heavily American sport. So with the UFC, hopefully Turkey doesn't mess that deal up, but they've been doing actually really good. Riyadh season has been very good when it comes to boxing, seeing fights that we actually want to see, except when they put Francis Ngannou's dumbass in there. He needs to get his ass back in the octagon. He actually did. He actually is the PFL heavyweight champion, if you guys didn't know that right now. There you go. Dirty Boxing. Dirty Boxing is cool. Mike Perry co-owns that which is great. It's just boxing with smaller gloves. But one thing, their little wild card that they have that kind of separates them from anyone else is Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero is 47 years old, so we think he could be 13, whatever happened in Cuba during the time. But he got a knockout over a former Bellator fighter, which is a pretty crazy thing to say when you're talking about a 47-year-old man. I don't know how old the other guy was, but it doesn't matter. Definitely not 47 because no one else is fighting when they're 47. But let's compare the resumes from his last 2 fights in dirty boxing, because I think at first they kind of just gave him the layup fight. They gave him a power slap fighter. He's a great power slap fighter. He's not bad at all. I think he's 6-1 in power slap right now. But hopefully Yoel Romero put him out of commission for a little bit if all the slaps didn't. But what are we doing? So he goes from power slap fighter to former Bellator fighter. It's a pretty big jump. I think he's great. I love Yoel Romero, soldier of God. Let's give him his flowers just for a second. Anyways, I know I should be covering the entire card, but we're going to go from Rosas and up. Last fight Rosas had, he won by decision. The significant strikes were close, but he kind of took the edge by his takedowns. Even though his opponent stuffed 4 of them, he landed 3. Raul Rosas is a great wrestler. His striking just leaves a lot to be desired. So when we see him going up against Morales, who lost in his last fight, but it was a really close decision. Elijah Smith isn't that good on his feet, but we're talking about someone who's great in takedowns. So when you see Raul Rosas, who kind of relies on takedowns, in his fight that he lost, he kind of lost the takedown edge, stopped moving the table. He kind of lost the edge because it's what you do when you're on the ground that kind of means a lot if you're talking about statistics. If something's going to the refs, which generally you don't, if it's going to be close, wrestlers who can't do much on the ground don't really mean anything. So if you're going for Raul, it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be fun, though. I think this will definitely be better. I'm giving it to Morales. And hopefully Raul Rosas' dumbass don't get on the mic again. Keep that shit on social media. It's a lot funnier. He goes, Chiwiwis. Yeah, bro. Whatever, bro. Hopefully someone puts a box on his head or something, bro. Anyways, Gastelum for Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer has the strongest punch in the UFC. I don't really care what anyone else says when it comes to this fact, because people say, oh, the machine was this, and that. Pereira has it. Those are Pereira Glazers who don't want him to lose that kind of boogeyman status. But unfortunately, after his loss, can we please say, okay, Alex Pereira, you're a great fighter, you're a monster, but you don't have the strongest punch in the UFC. That's Joe Pyfer. And Joe Pyfer showed that in his last fight against Marc-André. It was spelled weird. I said Mark Andrew. He won by knockout in the first round. He knocked him down at first, just like rocking him, and then just sealed the deal, which if you're rocked and you're in the same octagon as Joe Pyfer, you're cooked. You're going to be done pretty quickly. Joe Pyfer is new-ish to the UFC in the fact that he hasn't gotten enough flowers for what he's doing. He's rising, and I think once he gets to those top 15s, I don't think they'll be able to stop him. I think he's going to be a real problem. But Gastelum, first Rodriguez, he just, it was close. That's the problem. In a close fight where you're leading in your strikings instead of what you're doing on the ground and stuff like that, it's not going to end well for you against someone who's confident in their striking. Someone who's confident that they're going to put you out early is going to put you out early when you're barely winning against people who aren't that. Yeah, I don't know. But I think Pyfer's going to take that one. I think he's going to kind of start building his name a lot more. People don't talk about him enough, and I think that it's just going to be pretty cool. Torres versus Drew Dober. Drew Dober, resident Nebraskan. We're not going to say why we call him resident Nebraskan, but Drew Dober's last fight was against Jean Silva. And then before that was Moicano. So Moicano just fought for a belt. Jean Silva is on his way up right now. Was Jean Silva's next fight announced? It's Josh Emmett, right? No. Not Josh Emmett. What's his name?
No.
The guy that Bryce Mitchell. Yeah. So he's gonna put Bryce Mitchell's lights out easily. If Josh Emmett could put, and Josh Emmett's a great fighter. He's super good, but
Josh Emmett's violent.
Yeah, Josh Emmett's a violent fighter. Jean Silva is a incredible fighter. That's what you get from the fighting nerds. Yeah, practical. The fighting nerds. The fighting nerds have such dynamic striking that it's hard to be put in an octagon against a fighting nerd. And I think they won Team of the Year, which they definitely deserved. I think all of their fighters are doing super good in the UFC right now. But so when you say, oh, Drew Dober lost his last fight, you can't really look at his resume. And he was coming off a win before that. But look at his resume. Look at the people he's fought. Look at the people he's lost to especially. Dober's on the way out in the sense that he's off his peak. But that's fine. You know, it's fine to not be at your peak. You could still go on a good run, but when you're coming up against up-and-coming fighters, and Drew Dober didn't even lose in a bad way. He kind of started losing in the second. He almost got knocked out. He got saved by the bell. But he's known to come back from stuff like that, and I think after that, he kind of was just... He was putting up a fight, but it was going to be done. Herb Dean stepped in. He had a crazy cut. The cut was massive. The cut was massive. Torres got knocked out in his last fight. Torres got outworked in the first round. And he even threw... Statistically, if you're looking at the actual percentages and punches landed and stuff like that, he would have lost... probably either way, but he got knocked out, so it doesn't matter. So I think this is definitely a good layup fight. I'm not going to say layup. You never say layup. That's so rude. Drew Dober is going to win. Put your money on Drew Dober. I don't know if he's favored right now, but if he is...
Odds are really close.
Really? Wow. My gosh. If the odds are close, bro...
Torres is favored.
Okay, well then he's a parlay pick. That's all right. And the main event, Moreno versus Erceg. Two Pantojas... Not last opponents, but Erceg was the one before Kyle Sakura. Erceg is actually Australian, if you guys didn't know. But who cares? Moreno is coming off a win. Unanimous decision against Amir Albazi. And it was a great fight. I mean, he had been judged by two refs winning all five. And also had double Albazi strikes. So I think that it was a great performance, especially coming off, I think it was a 2-year layoff from fighting after his last loss to Pantoja. Whatever. Pantoja. I think that's not his last loss? Who?
Royval.
Oh, Royval. Oh, okay. Well, Royval's a talent. I think... if him and Manel Cobb fight again, which they were supposed to, but they didn't, which was very sad. I think Royval is going to take that just because of how much improvement he's had in his striking. But Moreno losing to Royval isn't crazy. And the thing about Moreno is he's not in the... he's not going to fight for a title. If he has a crazy performance against Erceg, it is very possible that he gets a title fight here soon. Maybe probably one more, but... Moreno, first of all, fans love him. Erceg, not really, but Moreno is very close to being in title contention again. I think people need to start realizing that's a real possibility, especially getting his get back. He lost to Pantoja twice, I'm pretty sure, once early in his career, and then the last one was the last one, but I think that he will be back, and I would love to see Moreno fighting for a title again. Erceg lost to Kai Kara France, who Moreno beat a while ago, so you can't really, do that. But Erceg's on a 2-fight loss streak. Got knocked out by Kai Kara France in the first round. Pretty bad. He was fighting off the back foot, especially as a taller opponent. Someone coming in really fast and catching you while you're off the back. You could make the argument that he was caught because throughout the first round he was doing a good job as a boxer. He is a great boxer, keeping his distance, feeling his opponent out, starting out slow. With people like Kai Kara France, you can't start slow. He might have a little more leeway with this because Moreno isn't going to jump like that, especially in his last fight against Albazi. Like, he was not coming out super fast. He was just constantly just putting the pressure. He lost by split decision both times against Brandon Royval and Pantoja. Should I just restart? Not from the beginning, just from... Okay, we're going to have to edit this part out anyways. Moreno versus Erceg. Anyways, okay, we're starting. Moreno versus Erceg. Moreno is in a position where he lost to two of the best fighters in the flyweight division, one being Pantoja, who is the best fighter in the flyweight division and is in the contention for the greatest flyweights of all time. Right now, you see he was calling out Mighty Mouse and stuff like that, which just won't happen. But also Brandon Royval, who's coming off a huge win against an undefeated up-and-comer and someone that I think once he is able to step in and fight Manel Kopp again, I think he will get the win. His striking's evolved past a crazy point. But I think that his losses aren't reflective of who he is as a person, especially when you see Pantoja's last fights, how those ended out. Royval's last fights. Royval's on a comeback right now. He's still young, so it's going to be good, but I think that his last win is very representative of who he is as a fighter because you're only as good as your last win. Outstriked him, doubled his strikes, Amir Albazi, and the judges had him, two judges scored him 50-45. Great performance. I think everyone watched this fight and saw that you kind of realize that, oh, Brandon Moreno is not in title contention. He could come back. He could put on an amazing performance against Erceg, which if he does, that immediately boots him to not the top, but pretty damn close, where we might see him fighting after the winner of Brandon Royval versus Manel Kopp. We might see him fighting whoever fights after the winner of that fight. Whether that be Pantoja if he loses or the champion itself. It could be either way, but Erceg is not in the win column right now. He's lost his two last fights. The last one by knockout, which was a pretty nasty knockout to Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France, shorter guy, was making Erceg fight off the back foot, which isn't a bad thing if you're a high-level striker like Erceg is. So it leaves you with that position where it's like, okay, he was boxing him out the entire time. He was keeping his distance, using his reach. But when you're fighting on the back foot, it makes it a lot easier to get caught, knocked out, which happened. He also lost by unanimous decision to Pantoja, and that was so recent, I don't see that fight happening again soon. And it was also not that close. It wasn't that close. The fight wasn't really that fun, and I think people are just tired of seeing Pantoja as the champion. But with that comes fights like this where it's like, okay, we need to build someone up. And I don't think people want to see Erceg built up again. I think people want to see Moreno built up again. And I think the UFC is doing that for a reason. So I think I'm going to give it to Moreno. Anyways, other than that, I got nothing. I got one more fight night before the main event. Or one more fight night before the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view. And that's going to be super fun. And I'm excited. And I'm excited to be there. Outro music. Oh, fuck. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Go follow the Instagram. Go read my article. It's good. I'm not in Nebraska. Stop trying to find me. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe.